Hi, everyone. This is Linda again. Welcome to the NCLA Government Resources section's Help, I'm an Accidental Government Information Librarian webinars. So today's webinar is called World Bank Online Resources Every Government Librarian Should Know About. And our presenters are Florina Pirle and Devika McWalters. And I'm going to hand it over to Devika so she can start the presentation.
Okay, excellent. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for your interest in World Bank Online Resources. I'm Devika McWalters and I work in World Bank Publications. And I'm joined today by my colleague Florina. So Florina, if you're online, want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Florina Pirle. I am a statistician with the data group at the World Bank. And later on, I'll be covering some of the main data resources. Thank you.
Sure. So if you've ever tried to use the World Bank's main website, you've probably already discovered that there are literally hundreds of pages on everything from the projects that we work on to events and blogs and to our latest findings on what works best in development and poverty reduction. So today we wanted to give you a high-level overview of some of the most useful sites for researchers and government librarians. So one of the reasons that we have so much information is that we have an access to information policy as well as an open access policy. So as we're trying to be as transparent as we can, we're making all this information available through our various websites. So just a quick overview of our open access policy. It states that all formally published works must be made available immediately upon release, or if it's something that's been published by bank staff outside the bank through a commercial publisher, that content be made available after the publisher's embargo, which is typically 18 months or less. So in addition to that, our access to information policy allows access to any information that we have that is not on a list of exceptions. And this slide here shows you some of the types of exceptions that we have. And they are generally things that can cause harm to specific parties or interests of the bank. So in general, everything, this policy flipped it from everything being confidential except for the few exceptions. It flipped it the other way. So now everything should be made public unless it meets one of these criteria. So everything that has been made available is available in our Documents and Reports website. This is the home page, and don't worry, at the end of this presentation, I'll have links to the websites and links to all of the various websites I'm showing you. So this is a look at the Documents and Reports main home page. It's our official database for everything that is currently disclosed or is eligible to be reviewed for disclosure. So you can find things like our board documents. These are the notes and things that the executive directors from each of the 180 member countries use to conduct the business of the World Bank. You can find country focus reports, project documents, economic sector work, all of our publications and research. And in total, it's more than 338,000 items of publicly disclosed documents or the metadata that's available for the things that are eligible for disclosure. So as you can see, it's a quite large database. So in addition to that, if you were looking for projects and operations information, you can also go to our projects and operations portal. And this is a more specific look at all the different projects that the World Bank has funded or is working on. And for each project, you can see the tabs at the top show different things like a summary of the project, the different procurement contracts and details about that, documents, news and media about the project, and then all the other details associated with that project. And it really is a great place that if you wanted to know what's happening in a specific country or a specific project, you can come in here and find information about the life cycle of that project. The Open Knowledge Repository, if you haven't heard about that, it's our official open access repository. And this is the place where you can go to find our latest publications and research. And basically it is the place where the general public can come if they've heard about one of our reports or books that have been released. They can come here, search, download it, and go. The Open Knowledge Repository has content from the year 2000 onward, and in some cases with the World Development Report, it goes back as far as the 1970s, but generally everything we've released since the year 2000 is available here and free and open to the public. The Open Knowledge Repository is built on a repository platform, and it's intended to be interoperable with other repositories. It's compliant with open access standards and the metadata standards, as well as the technical standards for open access. And it's a place where we collect, disseminate, and permanently preserve the bank's intellectual output. This is a look at the home page, and you can see that it's a fairly clean, simple, straightforward database. There's not a lot in terms of functionality besides search, but you can find a lot of information here. On the left, you can browse by collections, authors, dates, topics, and titles. You can also see our author profiles, which look something like this. And this is where you can find out more about the authors that have written some of the research, as well as see all the publications that they have written for the bank. You can find out more about their expertise and statistics on downloads of their publications. Another unique feature of the Open Knowledge Repository is that it contains the links to content that bank staff have written, whether it's a journal article or a chapter in a book that would have been published outside of the bank by a commercial publisher. So we then publish the link to that externally published document so that after the embargo from the outside publisher, anyone can come and find that content. Now, in addition to the Open Knowledge Repository, we do have a paid platform called the eLibrary, and this is a more customized website, I would say, for researchers and librarians, where we make it easier to find, use, and cite World Bank content. It's also basically a one-stop shopping for researchers because it brings together all the World Bank publications since the 1990s, so it goes back further than the Open Knowledge Repository, as well as top data from World Development Indicators and a variety of tools and features that, like I said, make it easier to find and access our content. If you're not familiar with our subject matters and content areas, we cover a really broad range of topics, and that's everything that has to do with poverty reduction and improving the lives of those living in poverty. Our focus is on low and middle income countries, but we also include content on high income countries because we do a lot of comparative studies. Some of the unique features of the eLibrary include full text search. We have chapter level access. Here's a screenshot of one of those full text documents where this circle over here, you'll see that it says view figures and tables. If you click on that, it will enlarge the table or the figure, and then you can also very easily scroll through all of the different tables or figures in that publication. We also make it very easy to navigate the publication without having to download it, and you can easily navigate across different chapters. And the eLibrary also includes a lot of citation tools, so you can easily export your bibliographic information to be used in EndNote and Zotero. And these features are things that are unique to the eLibrary that are only available here and not available in the open access sites. And that's mainly why it's a subscription site, and it's also built on a publishing platform which allows us to customize it and make it even more user-friendly. Another feature that this one has is that it has our reference linking. So you can very easily, from the online text, go to Crossref or Google Scholar and go to the original document that was cited in each of the publications. In addition to the publications we also have, as I mentioned, the top data from our World Development Indicators, which Florina will talk about later. And this makes it a lot easier for undergrads or if you're just looking to get some basic data such as GDP or population, the very common indicators. You can get them all in one place within the eLibrary. And on the left, you can see we have, we're looking at the view of China. For example, here are the different indicators related to population. If you click on the indicator, you'll see a description of the indicator as well as the source. And you can also choose which years. You can go back as far as 1960 for certain indicators. You can download the file as a CSV, and you can also on the fly create a citation link by clicking on that button, and it will just give you the information to use when you're citing the data. So many people ask us what's the difference between the Open Knowledge Repository and the eLibrary. And in a nutshell, the main difference has to do with the scope of content. As I mentioned, the eLibrary goes back as far as the 1990s, and the Open Knowledge Repository generally starts from the year 2000 onward. Also, the functionality is much more robust and user-specific for librarians and researchers in the eLibrary. And the Open Knowledge Repository, as I mentioned, has more limited functionality, but it is a free site where the general public can come and access our publications. So the World Bank Archives, we also have an open archives site, is a place where if you have researchers or historians looking for information about how international development may have changed over the years or how IGOs have changed, this is where you can find all of the information on our historic and archival information. So you have information about bank history. We have a section for oral history, and this is a number of interviews conducted with bank staff. They're both transcripts and in some cases the recordings, so you can hear their tone and their emotions about the interviews. We have information about past events. We also have our web archives. So these are some of the many of hundreds of websites from the past that have now been discontinued, but you can still access them if you had a question or needed to retrieve them for some reason. And there's also a link to the Document and Reports website, again, as I already mentioned. So from this page, you can also go to our photographic collection. This is thousands of photos that we have that we've taken from over the years from different projects and events. So those are all accessible. Once you get into the records, you can also see some information about the actual digital objects themselves. And this is a great place for researchers who are looking to identify digitized records. And then we have a reading room, so you can researchers can come here by appointment and actually have access to some of the physical documents if they're not online. You can browse by all digital objects or use the advanced search function. You can see at the top here, the tree view tells the users where in the holdings these digitized records are found, and it provides some context and evolution of development thinking and theory over time. So these are the main websites that I mentioned today, and we'll send this along after the webinar. And if you have any questions, you can certainly contact me or our customer service at online resources at worldbank.org for questions about the eLibrary or anything else we have. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Florina.
Hi, everyone. I will take over and talk a bit about World Bank data. So I will provide an overview of some of the main World Bank data resources. You may be familiar with the World Bank Open Data site, which is a gateway for the World Bank data. This is the homepage. It is a good place to start if you're looking to explore the data available, and I will go over a few of the main tools and resources, some of which are linked in the top right corner, so right here. If you're looking for specific data, you can start by searching for an indicator in the search box. So just go ahead and type things like inflation or GDP or population. Or you can click on the indicator list here, which will give you an index of some of the main indicators that we have. Then if you click on the on an indicator name, this will take you to an indicator page. Here you can generate a chart by selecting different countries and regions. You can see the source of the data and the license type. In this case, and for many indicators, the license is CC BY. So it's open and free to use as long as you cite it. You can see related indicators on the right-hand side. And you can download the data in a number of ways, some of which I will come back to later. These charts here cannot be downloaded, but if you have a web page, you can embed the chart by clicking on the share button, which will provide an embed code. When you search the Open Data website this way, many indicators results come from a flagship World Bank database, which is called the World Development Indicators, which Devika mentioned earlier. This database is a compilation of relevant, high quality, and international comparable statistics about global development. It includes series indicators for 217 economies and more than 45 country groups, with data for many indicators going back more than 50 years. But of course, the time coverage varies by indicator. The database is accessible through the Open Data site, which I've covered before, through DataBank, which is a time series query tool, which I will also cover later, and can be downloaded in Excel, CSV, and can also be accessed via API. This database specifically has a dedicated website, which is essentially also a discovery tool for the database. And it is also a storytelling platform where you can find information about data coverage and methodologies, and you can also read stories with nice visuals which use WDA data. This database, the World Development Indicators, and many others can be accessed through the data catalog. And this is the homepage for the data catalog, where you can search by keyword or by type of data. For example, you can see we have time series, we have microdata, and we also have geospatial data. So what is the data catalog? It's basically a large data repository. You can use its search engine to search among the many available data sets. Users can also download the data and access metadata for specific data sets and indicators. For example, if you go to the data catalog and look for the database that we previously covered, the World Development Indicators, you will get a list of results and access the database specific page, which is this one. And here you can see various information about the database, including the topics covered, how many economies are included, the time coverage, if you have any questions, who you can contact, but also information about data access and licensing here on the left side. And of course, if you actually want to see the data, you can click here on Data and Resources and explore the various formats in which you can access the data set. So here, for example, you can go to DataBank, or you can download it in Excel, in CSV, so in a number of ways. But again, this varies by specific database. I mentioned DataBank before, and a number of our data sets are accessible through an online exploration platform. And the homepage looks like this. And you can search for a specific database in the search box, but it's also going to give you a list of the data sets, the most used ones. So you can go here and do a bit of exploring to see what it has to offer. In a nutshell, it's an analysis and visualization tool that contains collections of time series on a variety of topics. So it covers about 55 of our databases, and you can download data and metadata in multiple formats, and you can create queries, generate tables, charts, maps, and then you can save these, embed them, and share them however you want. So this is how the data bank looks when you're actually trying to access some time series data. If you want to explore the database, the World Development Indicators database. The name is here. You have to select countries. You have to select indicators and years. And then you have to click on Apply Changes. DataBank also has a set of other cool features, and you can learn more about them and how to use them if you go on the FAQ page here. And of course, you can always contact us with any questions. We'll have contact information at the end. However, if you're looking for more granular country data, the microdata library is a good resource. And this is the main page. Essentially, the microdata library is a collection of topical country data sets gathered by the World Bank, but also by national statistical offices, as well as other organizations through surveys, censuses, and other data collection methods. If you go to Browse, you can, start looking for data sets that are of interest. You can search by keyword, or you can filter by country here, or you can filter by type of data set. And here, in this case, the green unlock sign means you can just go ahead and access the data directly. Some data sets can be restricted and have specific conditions for use of the data. Okay. In addition to general development databases and country-specific data sets, we also have databases which provide a more detailed and a more topic-specific subject matter data across countries. And I'll also talk about the SDGs. Here I listed some examples that may be of interest. So databases can be focused on topics like poverty, or education, or gender, but also can look at economics-related topics like debt and financial inclusion and trade. Here are some screenshots. If you're interested in any of these resources, simply type the name into your search engine, or you can write to us, and we'll be happy to help you locate the data. I also wanted to cover this. You may have heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a global agenda focused on a variety of topics, such as the elimination of poverty, hunger, good health, education, and many others. The World Bank Atlas on the SDGs is a nice publication available in print, in PDF, and also in web format, with nice graphics and maps covering all of the goals and giving a sense of the current status. You can also access a set of indicators which are relevant for the SDGs through a portal or through DataBank. And I have to mention that the official SDG database is maintained by the UN. How to get in touch with us? We have a help desk. And here you can access a lot of very useful frequently asked questions, or you can also submit a question through an online form. And of course, you can always write to us directly at data@worldbank.org, and we will be happy to help you with any of our databases and guide you through any of our resources. And thank you. I think that's it from me.
And there was a question I just want to read because we don't have the chats in our recordings. So someone was asking, or AGN was asking if there was a subscription required for data access like the eLibrary.
No, so all of the data that you can access through our data portals is free. You should look at the license in terms of how it can be used and how it can be cited. But other than that, there's no fee, okay. No subscription.
And then there was another question. Do you have alerts like RSS feeds or email specific to new publications or new data?
We do not currently have that, but we can explore that idea. If you go to the data catalog, for example, you can see for specific databases when it was last updated. So, for example, you can see here it says last updated. December 2019, but we do not currently have an RSS feed, no, sorry.
On the publication side, we do have the email alerts. So if you're subscribed to the eLibrary, you can sign up for content alerts based on your favorite series or journals. You can select which content areas that you'd like to receive the email alerts on. So when anything new is added to that series, it'll send you an email and it'll give you a link that'll take you straight to the content. You can also save your search results in the eLibrary, and then if any new content that meets your search results criteria is added to the eLibrary, it can also send you an email for that.
Great. And then Victoria is asking, does the microdata library have any data on a sub-country level? Oh, yeah, this is a question we get a lot. Provinces, states, regions, this kind of thing.
There is, so for specific country data sets, there is sub-regional data, but you have to look country by country. And then if you have any questions about like a specific data set, you can just write to us directly, because it really varies by country, by type of survey, what is covered in terms of subnational and regional information.
One thing I forgot to mention on the publication side is that most of our content, both in the eLibrary and the Open Knowledge Repository, are available under a CC BY license, which allows very generous sharing and reuse of our publications as long as the World Bank is given credit as the source.
And then Victoria asked again, this is an interesting question. Can you talk about when you would use data bank versus the data catalog and vice versa in choosing to use one versus the other?
Yes, that's a great question. So the data catalog covers a large number of data sets. And you can, depending on how much you know regarding what it is that you're looking for, I would start with the data catalog. Data bank only covers about 55 data sets. So it has a more limited range. You can go to the data bank main page and start typing in some keywords to see if one of the databases covered is available through data bank. But just because it has a more limited number, for example, databases like education and poverty, let me actually go to the topical database list. So the poverty and equity database, education, health, gender, social protection, debt, doing business, financial inclusion, and global financial development, these are all available in data bank. But for example, the carbon pricing dashboard is not. Trade and the WITS database is a great resource for all kinds of trade-related data, imports, export, tariffs, but it has its own website and its own data exploration platform. So it is not available through data bank, but it is available through a website that is also great and useful. So you can start with the data catalog if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And then if some of these things are, these databases and search results are available through data bank, then you can go there because it's very easy to download data and explore and use it. So yes, sorry, that was a long answer. And of course, any questions, you can just send them straight to us afterwards if you think of anything.
And I've used the topical databases, especially with upper level students, the topical data, like the gender data. And it's really nice that y'all have this broken out that way, because it helps with so students aren't just kind of blindly looking at World Data Bank.
Yeah, especially if you have, if you're focused on a particular topic, it's always useful when you have a database just for that.
Great, thank you very much for that. I think that's all of our questions. So unless you have any last minute questions, please join me in thanking our presenters for joining us today. This was really awesome to see how the two different areas work together. And all right, well, thank you, everybody. Join us again in March. We'll give you a specific date for the March webinar soon. And if you have any webinar ideas, please let us know.